This is Module 4, Chapter 13, Pre-Incident Planning. Please review this section and complete the assignment with a minimum score of 80%.
As an EMS officer, part of your role is to prepare your agency and staff so they may respond to the next emergency incident. In order to be appropriately prepared, you must have an understanding of the community you serve. What are the demographics? Is it urban, suburban, rural? What's the population of the primary response or first due area you are responsible for? Are there any critical infrastructures within your response area, such as major schools, retirement communities, hospitals, industrial complexes, major highways, railways, which might require additional resources? You must also know what those resources are and where you can obtain them if needed. One area of EMS operations which will require some pre-planning is the EMS agency inspection. This occurs every 2 years when the Office of EMS Program Representative will conduct a complete review of the agency's operation. The program representative will review the agency roster, maintenance records, patient care reports, as well as inspect the ambulances to ensure they are clean and presentable, as well as have the required emergency equipment as noted in the EMS regulations. Depending on how well prepared the EMS officer has maintained the agency records since the last inspection will definitely determine how much additional work must be done to prepare for an upcoming inspection. The best rule of thumb is to maintain the same level of scrutiny on these records throughout the years between inspections so that you only have to review and make minor revisions versus having to spend several weeks of intensive review and preparation. As an EMS officer, you should never become complacent when it comes to being prepared to meet the challenges of providing emergency care to the community. Does your agency buildings meet all fire safety codes? Have you checked for violations such as electrical cords being improperly used, exits not being blocked, or slip and trip hazards? Safety should become a normal part of our culture. Creating an incident pre-plan will help to ensure you are prepared to meet these challenges. This pre-plan may be considered like a process or standard operating procedure, which outlines how the agency will respond to a specific type of incident, such as an auto accident or mass casualty incident. These pre-plans must incorporate standard protocol and locality emergency response plans. Another area requiring an EMS officer's active involvement is providing safety programs to the community through public education programs like open houses, safety fairs, etc. As rescue responders, we should take prevention as seriously as we do our responses. Community risk reduction is everybody's responsibility. This photo shows an open house at a local agency. For more information, go to the American College of Emergency Physicians website and search for tips on hosting a successful open house for your local agency. Pre-incident planning has been used by the fire service for many years and is fully detailed in FPA 1620, the standard for pre-incident planning. This document provides criteria for evaluating the protection, construction, and operational features of specific occupancies to develop a pre-incident plan that should be used by responding personnel to manage fires and other emergencies in such occupancies using the available resources. Many EMS agencies have now adopted this standard for developing pre-incident plans to help emergency EMS responders effectively manage emergencies so as to maximize protection for occupants, the responding personnel, property, and the environment. It provides a comprehensive guidance covering the pre-incident planning process, physical and site considerations, occupant considerations, special hazards, emergency operations, and pre-incident plan testing and maintenance. As an EMS officer, you will focus patient access and resources needed to handle patient stabilization and transport. but do not discount the need to assess the considerations mentioned above. This process allows the EMS officer to evaluate a facility and prepare plans on how to address emergency situations that may arise. It is imperative for EMS agencies that are requested to provide medical support to large events such as golf tournaments, car races, sporting events, concerts, and triathlons to have a pre-plan in place. Extreme sporting events are becoming more frequent, and EMS agencies are being requested to provide medical support for the participants and spectators alike. Using the pre-incident planning process helps to create an effective response plan to handle these incidents. It is important to familiarize yourself with target hazards. The following sites are some examples of which have great potential for significant loss of life or monetary loss: public assembly facilities, hospitals, nursing homes, theaters, industrial sites using hazardous materials, railroads, highways, schools, and malls are just a few which you should be familiar with. Pre-incident planning can be used for a variety of activities. Pre-incident planning is routinely used by emergency management and needs to be adopted by EMS agencies as a standard practice. Think about the types of facilities your EMS agency currently responds to on a daily basis. And think about how your personnel would care for patients during a major event, such as a fire, flood, building collapse, major power outage, etc. How would your agency handle the need for mass evacuation of a large assisted living facility, i.e. nursing home, where the residents require assistance in moving? Having a pre-plan in place will pay dividends when it comes time to respond. Plan how the ambulances will access and exit from the facility when transporting patients. Preparing a pre-plan on a facility prior to an actual incident will be invaluable to first responders. This document should be available for reference to first responders and take into consideration a number of factors such as exit locations, areas for ambulance staging, utility shutoffs, etc. This is an example of a simple pre-plan for a high-rise nursing home which provides a simple layout of the facility. When these pre-plans are printed out or available on a Vehicle Mobile Data Terminal, or MDT, in an ambulance, it is then readily available to use in an emergency. EMS personnel can accomplish the following actions before the event even occurs if they have a good pre-plan. For example, organize the scene and ensure the effective response. You can plan how you would secure the area and limiting access to non-essential personnel, determining whether the incident scene is safe to enter and whether decontamination will be required, assign personnel to the necessary tasks and roles, locate staging, triage, treatment, and transportation areas, plan communications between those areas, develop a traffic pattern that provides for the smooth flow of patients and vehicles, and also to ensure that appropriate record keeping takes place. Once a plan is developed, it must be exercised. Typically, a tabletop exercise is conducted before a full-scale exercise, but full-scale exercise should be conducted if at all possible. Often they are done in coordination with local hospitals or emergency management agencies. Before you can prepare your response pre-plan, you need to understand what types of emergency incidents you may be called upon to respond to. This can only be done when you have evaluated all aspects of an emergency response requirement. A pre-incident plan should be based on the major priorities of life safety, incident stabilization, and property conservation. The number of required resources to address this emergency will be affected by a number of factors. Specific EMS concerns may include occupants, types of exposures, types of hazards, their contents, and the air quality. When evaluating a facility for preparation of a pre-plan, you must create a good working relationship with the owner/occupant to ensure that you have obtained all pertinent information about any special or unusual characteristics or aspects of that facility. Bear in mind that some facilities will have some concerns about divulging trade secrets or ingredients for production located on site. It requires a lot of tact and diplomacy on the part of the EMS officer to ensure that the owner/occupant will be compliant in answering your inquiries. Always be respectful and appreciative for their assistance. A pre-plan is only as good as the information in the document is accurate and easily accessible at the time of response. As mentioned earlier, this can be in the form of a printed handout or in an electronic format available on the responding units. As we discussed earlier, an EMS pre-plan is primarily designed to provide your emergency responders with readily accessible information about a specific facility where there is a high life hazard, such as in schools, nursing homes, theaters, stadiums, and auditoriums, or other areas which can hold a large volume of individuals. Pay special attention to facilities where occupants are likely to require special assistance when evacuating. Having the evacuation plan is critical. Predetermining a staging area for ambulances is a must for ease of access. Safety is critical as you identify egress to this area.
This is a sample of a planning tool used by an EMS agency to evaluate a request for medical support at a special event. You should know that this is certainly not all-inclusive and is used as an illustration of the types of questions you need to have answered in order to prepare for these types of events. When involved in pre-planning an upcoming special event, there are a number of factors which must be taken into consideration. These factors include the type of event, the venue, whether it's indoors or outdoors, will alcohol be served, the number of participants and spectators expected to attend, what is the expected weather if it's an outdoor event, what type of resources are available on the site, and most especially the access and egress from the site by emergency apparatus in the event of an accident.
Using the fire services model for pre-incident planning cannot be overly emphasized as a vital tool for today's EMS officer. This is a simple, time-tested, and proven method for preparing an EMS agency to respond appropriately to an emergency. An EMS officer who follows these basic concepts will find that this is an effective tool for their toolbox to prepare their agency for the unexpected emergency which can occur in their respective community. Unfortunately, it is no longer a question of if an emergency will occur, but when. Preparation for this event is imperative.